New developments in the Stormy Daniels saga after the president broke his silence just last hour. Daniels' lawyer, Michael Avenatti, said that he's preparing a motion to depose the president and his attorney, Michael Cohen. But as their legal fight intensifies, some of the Avenatti strategies are starting to look a little familiar.
We're not going to get into the details. I'm not going to disclose what's on it.
I'd rather not say.
We'll disclose it at the appropriate time.
At the appropriate time.
I'm not going to answer that question. I'm not going to answer.
I don't want to say.
Absolutely to be continued. We're just getting started.
We're just getting started.
We're just getting started.
We're just getting started.
It is just the beginning in the coming weeks and months. I'm a pretty good poker player, and we're going to wait and see how this thing plays out.
We like to play our cards a little bit close to the vest.
This is a chess match, and we're going to get to the bottom of it.
We will get to the bottom of it.
Well, we're going to get to the bottom of it. I'm not teasing anything.
You'll see.
Everybody wants instant gratification. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Well, let's bring in Republican strategist Noel Nickpour and Democratic strategist Don Calloway, CEO of Pine Street Strategies. You guys are laughing right along with me. I felt like I had whiplash watching that. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
What do you think about this, Don? Is Avenatti using the president's playbook against him?
Well, I don't know that he's using it against him, but at the end of the day, ultimately, both of them are self-promoting showmen. So it's a very, very similar playbook. I think that Avenatti has a reasonable reason as a lawyer to not tip his hand here. But at the end of the day, they're both showmen. They both have projects to sell. President Trump to sell his administration, his agenda to the American people, and Avenatti to build a law practice for both this case and long after this thing is done. So it's absolutely the same playbook. The fundamental difference is that we don't have any reason to question the veracity of things that Michael Avenatti says or tweets or puts out there for the American public, whereas we've seen that the president does not have a hand-in-hand relationship with the truth at all times. So it'll be exciting to see how the Avenatti matter plays out and to see if he generally is a guy who says things that are true, whether or not he uses some sensational tactics to do so.
Why, Noel, do you think the president answered questions about Stormy Daniels this week after holding back for so long? And do you think he will come to regret it, given the Stormy Daniels lawyer thinks the president's denial of knowing about the payment just helps his case?
Well, first of all, Alex, greatest montage ever.
That's a good one.
But I've got to tell you, I really think that what Trump did was actually a little smart with the Twitter, because it just verified that he did not know anything about the payment. And after all, it's the payment is the problem, not whether or not he had the affair with Stormy Daniels. And he came out and said he didn't know anything about the $130,000. So once again, a while back on your show, I had said that the only person it looks like that's probably going to be in hot water here is Michael Cohen, because it looks like Michael Cohen, you got to see when all this had gone down. This is right before the election. Everybody was in a fear, a frenzy. So this is once again saying that he didn't know anything about it. So, if I were his attorney, would I want him to comment? Probably not, but Trump is going to be Trump. And basically, it's saying that Michael Cohen did this and Trump didn't know anything about it.
Yeah. Don, I want to look at the Boston Globe, which you may recall made that mock newspaper front page back in 2016, envisioning a day in the Trump presidency. Headlines here talk about the president ramping up deportations, market sinking as a trade war looms. There's a shot at the media as well. Are you surprised by how accurate that was? Again, a parody back in 2016.
Yeah, it is surprising, but frankly, it shouldn't be. All of the worst elements of this presidency were remarkably transparent and were right there from the moment he descended the stairs at the Trump Plaza and said that Mexicans are sending rapists and murderers to this country. The problem is that we elected him in spite of millions of Americans screaming about how disastrous his presidency would be. Unfortunately, they weren't the right Americans. They were people of color, they were women, they were people who have been historically marginalized in this country, and those cries were not enough. Now, understand that some people just Hillary Clinton was not palatable enough for. But again, all of the elements that are amounting to the worst of this presidency were readily transparent. And it can sometimes descend into parody, but this is a really sad situation that how accurate the Boston Globe was in getting a lot of these elements absolutely correct.
And I'm just going to let you, Noel, quickly have the last word with regard to, what's it say? I mean, 2 years ago, and now here we are.
Well, if you'll remember, when he was campaigning, there were two words that were consistent, Alex, and they were the wall and they were China. Do you remember how many times you heard China,
Yeah,
China?
yeah.
Well, now it's coming into play. And although, he has done a really good job, I think, so far, I think a lot of people are horrified with his policies that are actually coming into fruition.
All right, you two. I'll talk with you both again. Noel and Dawn, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Have a good
Alex.
weekend.
Thanks, Noel. You too.
And for all of you coming up next.